So let's talk a minute about our mission. You know, it really came out of necessity, and that's the funny thing with our mission. I was a personal trainer and a massage therapist before I started into the Pilates world. And after I went through and got the Pilates education, which I thought was pretty in-depth at the time, I got out and I started working, and I got really busy. And it wasn't until later when I saw that, when I was talking to other Pilates instructors, that knowledge I had from being a personal trainer and then a massage therapist and then adding the Pilates into it really made a huge difference in knowing how to work with certain individuals. And that really made me very valuable. At the time, I was working in a Gold's Gym. I had opened a Pilates studio inside a Gold's Gym. And soon after that, I saw that it was time to move on and expand a little bit, so I opened up a freestanding Pilates studio. In doing this, I took on a lot of overhead. So no longer was it feasible for me to be the main instructor with just a couple people teaching a little bit of Pilates. I had to learn to depend on other instructors to be able to teach to the clientele that I was working with. So I went out and I was looking in the market, and I really kind of realized there wasn't a lot of people like myself out there. So I thought, well, I could help with people going through education to make sure they had all the necessities that are the things I thought that were necessities for them to maintain a clientele working out in my studio. So I sent them to a couple schools, and soon they came back, and they just weren't what I was looking for. So I had to figure out a better way of getting educated Pilates instructors. So me being who I am, I ended up jumping on a plane, going up to New York, and sitting through a Pilates conference where I went in and I saw, or I sat in, I should say, on different Pilates studios or different Pilates educators program to just kind of get a feel for who would fit best in the way I was teaching. And that was great because I went up and I saw classical Pilates instructors, I saw, Stott, and I talked to people from Stott a little bit, and I ended up, getting to see Mari Windsor teach and seeing how she was way different than what I was looking for. And then, worked with Peak Pilates. That was the people that owned the manufacturing of my equipment, so I thought they would be a great fit. And they didn't really kind of have the same kind of insight that I had for the training I was looking for. Long story short, I ended up finding the Kane School of Core Integration, and I ended up enrolling and going through their courses for Pilates up in New York. And it was a good fit. It really was. It was very much built on science and still had the Pilates work in it, but it was more biomechanical. But that's up in New York, and I'm down in Palm Beach Gardens. So I had to find an avenue to get the people around me educated. So I ended up talking to Kelly and bringing them down to facilitate their education out of my studio. And I did that for about 2 years. And it was beneficial because I did get a couple great instructors, one of them who is still with me. Actually two, counting Deanna and Monica. But I got a few people that were still with me that really made a difference in the education, but it was just too far in between, and too expensive for me to bring down that program to facilitate in that way. So I walked away from working with the Kane School, and it kind of left a little void. And that's when I came across a mentor of mine, Brent Anderson, and talked with him, and whether he knows it or not, he really inspired me into opening up my own program. And I worked while I was finishing off Kelly's program and building my program. It took about 2 years to put our first program together. And that was in 2007. So in 2007, I opened up my education, and it started off a little rough. You know, I had to get a little bit more experience and expand my education, and it was important that I did that to work through that, because now we have an awesome program. And that's what I did, is I basically started educating instructors. And soon after that, a lot of our instructors that I educated got great jobs in country clubs and other studios, which showed me that the education was really needed for our area, because we were pretty young for Pilates at that time. That's why I think it's funny, because our mission is really to educate the public, but also to educate the instructors to understand that there's opportunity out there. If you put forth the time and the effort, we will give you the education to really make a difference in your community, but also in your livelihood. And that's what our mission really comes down to. And we do that by using biomechanics and research and studying, and then combining it with the Pilates knowledge and the history of Pilates.